This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
We're standing at the Kever of one of the great all-time Gedolim. The Chidah said about him that in his generation, him and the Chavos Yair were the two Poiskei Hadar. We're talking about Rabbi Yaakov Reisher, 1670 to 1733, who is the author of so many important works for Klal Yisrael. The Choik Yaakov on Hilchos Pesach, the Minchas Yaakov on the Torah Chatzos the Ramah, Hilchos Nida, he wrote Torahs Hashlamim. He wrote the Ion Yaakov on the Ein Yaakov. The commentary Ion Yaakov was Rabbi Yaakov Reisher. And of course, most well-known Shal Shevus, Shevus Yaakov. There's a very interesting comment in the Choik Yaakov. Choik Yaakov says, you look around the world, the night of Shevus, we have this, traditionally, what do people say the night of Shevus? They say the Tikkun Leil Shavuos, and yet there are very, very few people who are saying the Tikkun Leil Shavuos. What happened to it? This is legislated from the Yomim Kedumim. So he says the truth is, the Chayk is for those people who are Amei Haaretz. But people who know how to learn, they should learn Gemara, Rashi, they should learn the meat and potatoes. The Choik Yaakov, being a great halachist, he was not in favor of Mekubalim. He was very outspoken, one of the most outspoken against Shabtai Tzvi and his followers. And really there's a very interesting account of how the Ion Yaakov was written, which is really not well known. He writes in the Hakdama that he was extremely ill. When he was the Rav in Metz, he lost his eyesight, and he was a samoy, he could not see anything. And the Rebbeinu Shalom brought to him in the year Tuf Pei, that's 1720, his tefillos were answered, and he met a doctor, and the doctor gave him sight in his right eye, and then gave him sight in his left eye. So he said, Ayin, Tachas, Ayin. He got back his Ayin, so he wrote on the Ein Yaakov, the Ion Yaakov, as a form of a Toida, a Hidat HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for granting him his eyesight. Now, he's the brother-in-law of two great Gaonim. He was the brother-in-law of Rav David Oppenheim, who was a student of Rabbi Hagashuni, and he was the brother of the Elyo Rabbah, Rav Elyo Shapiro. So these were all part of his extended families. There's something that he says that's, to me personally, a very powerful and inspiring thought. If somebody has a need, and they go to a tzaddik, and they're trying to see, they're trying to determine, does this tzaddik have koyach hatfila? You want to know, does this tzaddik have, what ingredients would you look for in an individual to see if they have koyach hatfila? So the Ion Yaakov says like this, the Gemara in Tainus, that when the Klal Yisrael did not have rain, who did they go to? They went to Chonei Hamagal. Why was it Chonei Hamagal? He made a circle, he stood in the circle, said, Ribaj, make it rain, all of a sudden the rain fell. What was it about him? What was his zuchus? Says that Ion Yaakov, look in the Gemara in Tainus, it says that Chonei Hamagal, that there was a pasuk in Tehillim, Shir Hamalis, and Chonei Hamagal said, is it possible that they were dreaming for 70 years? Is it possible for someone to go to sleep for 70 years? The Lashon of the Gemara is, Kol Yamav Shel Oisai Tzadik Hayamitzaer Al Pasuk Zeh. He was distressed of not understanding Torah for 70 years. Someone who cares about Torah so much that it bothers them, that's the zechus that your tefillos are answered. It's not some kind of supernatural piety and righteousness. If you learn and it bothers you and you don't understand it, you take it to heart, that's the zechus needed to have your tefillos answered. And he says that's why Chonei Hamagal's children and grandchildren had their tefillos answered, because of this love, Avas HaTorah, that they had, that when they learned, it bothered them, they didn't understand it. So, hope Be'ezus Hashem, in this Makayim, it should be predisposed that our tefillah should be niskabel.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.